Good morning, class. This is Mr. DeVoe-Peterson, and we are starting week 5. So let me share my screen, and I'll start in Canvas on the Fresno City College website. So you see we have chapters 3 and 4 in Access to do, and we have a hands-on access project, which means you need Microsoft Access installed on a PC. So keep that in mind as you progress here. Here's a video where I do it for you. I do most of the assignment. And this is the link to actually download your starting files and instruction sheet and get to work on it. Then we have 2 chapters for you to read in Tech in Action, chapters 8 and 9. The last 2 chapters we're going to cover. Narrated PowerPoints, study guides, and chapter quizzes. So let's look at what's involved in the Access project. I'm going to go into my T-Lab here. I'm in week 5. So you see here's the training and the assessment for chapter 3, same thing for chapter 4. This is where you can download the Access starting file, which looks like a blank database. So you'll be adding tables and entering data and importing data in a spreadsheet. So that'll be kind of nice, kind of fun. Common activities for a database. And then quizzes. Notice it says in Canvas, that's where they live. So before I go into the training, let's see what you're going to learn in chapter 3. You're going to build an expression, like a calculation in Excel, but you'll do it in a database. You'll format the results. For instance, if it's currency, you only want 2 decimal points instead of, a gazillion. Um, how to recover some errors using the expression building. An example of that is the payment function. You did that in Excel. We also do that in Access. Very handy, learning how to do that. Calculated fields for totals and queries. Chapter 4, I think we get into creating a form for data entry, modifying the design, and creating reports. So forms are handy if you have a lot of fields versus working in a data sheet. Very handy. And reports are output, so we need to be able to use that. So now let's look at Access. I'm going to click the link, and of course, it's opening up a new window. Again, these are the things we're going to learn, which I just showed you. I'm going to launch it. And this is where I have a pop-up window that you can't see. So let me outsmart Zoom by copying this link and minimizing the page and adding a tab right here and pasting the URL, Uniform Resource Locator link in here so you can see it. So initializing. So this is Microsoft Access. I'm in it right now. And notice that it's got some tables in here already. And we can view the tables as, data sheet or design view. We can decide how we want to do that. So it says first thing we're going to do is create a new query using a query design button. First add the agents table, then the properties table. We got a little work. So we're in chapter 3. So we're going to do some more advanced work here. If we don't, when we do a query, how do we do that? Well, we do create, and we're going to create a query, right? So query, did it say by design? Yep, by design. That's how we do that. If we're not sure how to work on these properties in a database, here are the learning aids. So I want to point that out, use it often. I think you'll find, at least I'm hearing from you from last week, Access a little bit easier than Excel. So I think you're going to enjoy that. So that's a database program. This is one of 8 um, assignments here you're going to do in chapter 3. And then you 10 attempts for each assignment. You can view them all here and see all the things we're going to do, creating a loan payment, like we said. I think you're able to see this pop up. So that part's good. When you're done, you'll submit for grading. If you don't finish during the time you allocated when you started working on this, make sure you save it so you can progress. So I'm going to jump out of this. I'm going to leave it. That's chapter 3. Then assessment goes along with chapter 3 where there's no learning aids. So again, if you're doing the assessment and you forgot how to do a task, save, go back to the training, learn how to do that skill you need, then return to the assessment and go on from there. Okay, so, and here is the download for getting into the hands-on access test. So I think you'll find it easy. Watch the video I provided for you there. Again, the video is right here doing the hands-on test, so you'll see it right here. And there's where you download it. This will get you in, again, my IT lab, right? Okay, so What next? We need to talk a little bit about chapters 8 and 9. So let's see. Let's go into the book. This is Technology in Action. This is the table of contents. Let's jump down to chapter, what do we say, 8 and 9? Let's go to 8. Managing your digital lifestyle. I think you'll like this. It's kind of good information. Digital basics. Let's see what you know. Oh, digital convergence. That's kind of handy. What's that term mean? The use of a single unifying device to handle media, internet, entertainment, and telephony. It certainly sounds like your cell phone, doesn't it? Okay, what else? Ooh, a nice little screen on that car, on that dash. The Internet of Things, and they've expanded that phrase, the Internet of Everything. So, okay, the interconnections of uniquely identifiable embedded computing devices to transfer data over a network without requiring human to human or human to computer interaction. The Internet of Things, like smart thermostats and smart lamps and things like that. Kind of handy. And here they are right here. Smoke detectors, lighting, security locks, appliances. It's just amazing. What else? Digitized, analog. This is showing you the difference. What are we seeing here? Analog waves showing the simple, pure sound of a piano, right? Here we go. And that's up in here for A. And this is you talking, all right? Complex wave produced by a person saying hello. Quite complex. Advantages of using digital versus analog. I don't know. I see this resurgence of people going back to analog records because they like the sound of that versus digital files that are playing. So I don't know what your opinion of that is, but this is a sound wave, right? This is the natural sound wave, and this is how it's digitized. And these are points in this chart showing you that are recorded to reproduce the sound. It's kind of interesting. Electronic text, so e-reader. Okay, e-readers are nice. And here's an e-book reader. I don't know. I find some students like to use the book still, and the smell of the paper and the pages, and some are okay with doing an e-book reader. So it depends what your preference is. Okay, so that's chapter 9. Chapter 10. Oh, this is good. Securing your system, protecting your digital data, identifying theft and hackers. Oy vey. Watch out. Okay. So here is threats to your digital assets. Oh, okay, there's a video you can watch. Cybercrime. Again, what's that definition? Any criminal action perpetrated primarily through the use of a computer, right? Cybercrime. I think you probably knew that definition. You hear it all over the news. And these are industries that are being under attack. Technology, manufacturing. Now, financial services, you really don't hear about that in the news too much. Banks don't like to advertise have been hacked, but you see that identity theft. That's happened to me. Someone's gotten my information, my ID, and I had to get my credit repaired. Hacking, hackers. All right. Anyone who unlawfully breaks into a computer system, whether an individual computer or network. Now, there are different types of hackers. They're based on the color of their hat. And I think we talk about, here we go, white hat. Okay, these are ethical hackers, right? Break into systems for unmalicious reasons. Actually, I was certified to break into mainframes when I worked at the county by my boss. So I would be the white hat hacker, and I did crack into it twice. Black hat, well, they do nefarious type things with systems, and gray hats don't know exactly if they're going to be good or bad, I suppose. Packet analyzers, sniffers. This gets a little techie, all right? Backdoor programs. Ooh, rootkits. Rootkits install on a system before the OS gets started so they can hide from malicious software detection like antivirus programs. Yeah, these are interesting. Denial of service attack. The ping a server so much that it can't respond to a legitimate request for information. If you have an army of computers that are using in the denial of service attack, then it's distributed. It's across, maybe 10,000 computers or devices that are hitting a website so much that it can't respond to legitimate users and it crashes. That's what that is. And it does happen. Logical ports. Let's see. Oh, there's a bad guy or gal. Hard to say. Viruses, different viruses. So this is good to know. And there's some quiz questions on that about viruses and what they do. And I think, um, hacking computer, file sharing. Okay, this is showing what happens when the virus spreads. And what's a summary on this chapter? Chapter review. Chapter 9, identity theft. We talk about that. Different types of hackers. We mentioned that. Different types of viruses and how they work. Here we go, the description. Boot sector viruses. Go to the master boot record. Malware, spam, annoying, very annoying, social engineering. All right, good stuff. So this is your ebook. Make sure you go through it. I'm going to close the screen out now. I'm going to go to, hopefully you see my page here. I haven't lost it with Zoom. Where was I? I went through chapters 8 and 9. These are the narrated PowerPoints. These are the study guides. Remember, study guides are quiz questions that you probably should look at before you take the quizzes down here. And that is week 5. We finished Access, and next week's week 6, the last week of school. So, if you're still with us, you're hanging in there. We're almost done. So hang in there a little bit longer. And let me stop sharing my screen. Let me hear from you if you have questions. And all right, bye for now.